Okay, it's now 10:03 and I'm calling the Township of Frontenac Island's regular meeting to order. And I'm going to make note again that the Manning State Services will be held tomorrow at 10:30 here on Wolf and 10:30 I believe on Howe as well. 10:45 on Howe. And today is the 50th anniversary of the Evan Fitzgerald going down, so somber times. I'm calling the meeting to order. We begin this gathering by acknowledging and celebrating those traditional lands as a gathering place of the First Peoples and their ancestors who are entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. We do so by respecting both the land and the Indigenous peoples who continue to walk with us through this world. Today, the Township of Frontenac Islands is committed to working with Indigenous peoples and all residents to pursue a united path of reconciliation. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we make note that Councillor Jablonski sent his regrets. We have delegation, the first one being Suzanne O'Reilly and Sherry Zabrowski regarding the senior center. Have a seat and look forward to your presentation.
Morning, and thank you for this opportunity. Mayor Finley Spears and Deputy Mayor Saunders and Councillors Ackley and Halton. My name is Sherry Zabrowski. I think this is an important event that we're talking about and a project, so I've taken a special leave from work to be here today. And this is
Suzanne O'Reilly.
Thank you. We're here to talk about the what, the why, the how, the when of potentially a seniors center on Wolf Island. I ran into Suzanne, we were chatting about this idea after I had seen something in the news about naturally occurring residence retirement zones, or NORC as another term for that, where you've got the population of a lot of retirement folks in one particular area. So we got thinking about, we're that kind of people, and as an island, Howe Island, similar to Wolf Island, we're isolated. And it would be a great opportunity for us to bring some things to this community. There is a lot of things happening on the island already. There's a pickleball group and there's a games group, and this would build off of some of the things that islanders are already thinking about. And we would like to explore that a little bit further. Starting with maybe a small location first, and we'll get into explaining some of that in the rest of our presentation. So Suzanne, there's a slide.
So the whys are, as we know, Wolf Island is an increasing retirement community. And the mean age, I did a statistical, tried to find some stats from StatsCan. And it said our mean age is 50, which means our population is greater over 50. And we do know for health purposes, you want to keep on moving, and if you don't exercise and keep cognitively aware, then you're more likely to decline in later age. So keeping the community active is a great way to keep it healthy. So, and it would be good to engage in wellness activities and accessible health programs such as yoga or weight class. Since we're an isolated community, people are less inclined to probably go to the Kingston Senior Center in town, and we can bring those services over here. We spoke with Don Amos, the executive director of the Kingston Senior Center, and he is willing to set up a satellite program as long as we have a space. And that will include the members would have to pay a $55 fee to be a member of the senior center in Kingston. And once they have the membership, then they can do activities on the island, whatever programs are developed. And it would be a satellite program, and the satellite program, they have one like it in Loyalist Township. And they said they provide things like yoga classes or weights classes or exercise classes and two-step dancing in the evening. They said it's very popular. So all of this would increase the health benefits of our community, and since we have an aging community, increasing our health benefits would potentially reduce ambulance calls and also help with reducing traffic to town if they already go to senior centers activities.
Yeah, and building up with that, in the package that we've given each of you on council is the program from the Seniors Association. And they list over 260 some programs, shocking, right? And it lists their 11 satellites that they run, as well as the central location. We've also given you one of their magazines. There's a regular distribution of a magazine that's part of your membership package. And also you'll see the survey that we've come up with that I'll speak to about in a minute. And a letter from Don Amos describing his intention to lead this project and to take us on as a satellite. In partnership with the Senior Center, as Suzanne just said, the $55 membership helps to run all of these programs, and it's an umbrella situation. So all we would need is that one room. Starting small, maybe a couple days a week, maybe a few hours, depending on the needs of the community. And with that needs survey and needs assessment that we have to run, that would be part of figuring out what we should do, what days of the week, and what people are asking for. We already know they're interested in pickleball and the games night, and Gary and the community center have been doing fantastic things with that group. We did speak to them, and they are excited about this and eager to know what other things could be provided on the island. Although the senior center is, I'm talking faster now because I realized we only have 10 minutes. The senior center is geared to 55 years of age plus, but if you're 18 years and over as an adult, you can join these programs. So wouldn't that be great for all adults on Wolf Island, or how well in the future, to be having these kinds of activities and not worrying about running to town, that it takes you 3.5 hours just to do your half-hour yoga session or whatever. The kinds of activities, as Suzanne just mentioned, is a huge plethora. Everything from the physical activities to the mental health and well-being to the social, emotional, and it's what a community is asking for. It could be a bereavement session where you have it led by a therapist and working through whatever that need is. It could be a language class. Maybe you want to learn French. I don't know. Let's bring it here. What are the gifts that we have in our own community where people would lead different activities? So that would come from the CAA. Again, in your package, we have organized a bunch of questions that we are hoping could go to the community and we could get results to see what folks really would like to see starting on the island, starting small. But then as we move into the future, and here's where we come back to that naturally occurring retirement area. The New York community, there's one that I saw advertised on TV in the Toronto area. This goes back about 7-8 years ago. I have to go to see the follow-up. There's noise behind me now, so I'll talk louder. The center had brought in all kinds of services to an apartment building that had 1,000 some plus people in it, thinking, what would happen if we brought you the services? We'll bring you the flu shots with our community already doing that. Fantastic for the clinic. We'll bring you the nursing care. We'll bring you your dental checkups, also the clinic. Thank you for that. I think there's a lot of things happening in our community that we can piggyback these things. And you bring the service to the people rather than people always running around. It's actually environmentally friendly too, isn't it? Less cars going across wherever you're going, whether that's the city of Kingston or whether it's Wolf Island here and coming out to these satellite activities that we'd like to see. The where, I'll get Suzanne to speak to this now.
So I did approach the Limestone Catholic or Marysville Public School and talked to Carolyn Downey about renting the space there. But they're not in, they said they didn't want to rent the space at this point, and they haven't decided what they're gonna do. So we approached the United Church, Brett Bellamy and Wendy Bellamy have agreed to negotiate these contract with the senior center, and that would be a perfect space for our senior center. And then the community needs assessment. So what Don Amos said is we need a community needs assessment, which is basically the survey. We're asking you to fund the survey or you could apply for that grant for the survey. And we want to do a monkey survey or QR scans within the community and well-trafficked places or a mail out, and we thought we could mail out the taxes, but that we probably want to do it sooner. And I talked to Jen here, I said the post office people will be able to drop off handwritten surveys in the outside part of the post office, so she's agreed to that. And what we're looking for in the survey is to find out what types of exercises or exercise or fitness programs people want, what kind of art programs, if they want music, if they want education or social events. I know we already have social events that we don't want to take away from the Anglican churches here. We just want to build on what's already here. And we've talked to a few people in the community, and they thought maybe nutritional cooking classes. And we're looking for volunteer support and then we'll develop the program, or the program will be developed by the senior center as soon as we know what we got.
Yes, and the survey was run as submitted in several ways, so we've got, folks that don't use computers necessarily, so we need the copies. And we can provide the box, so the survey's already in your hand, you see the questions will be. We just need the support to get it off the ground, so to photocopy the pages and to distribute that. We noticed in the agenda for today that our updates in our letter to council didn't quite get the asks into the agenda. So we were asking really for three things. First of all, that payment. So if we could have you do the photocopy and pay for the mail out. As we said, ballparking about $100. We're asking also that council support our idea to coordinate and cooperate with the Seniors Center of Kingston. And that you would assist us in the process, whether that's, sitting in the meetings for the lease agreement or such. And thirdly, for perhaps in the future, donation in kind of perhaps something like snow removal at the United Church, as we're pursuing that location as our gathering hall. And it would serve the community better to not have that additional cost. And it would, work to the needs of that space as a starting point. So mail out, cost, support for the center, and thirdly for donations in kind.
So what Dawn, the executive director of the senior center said was that what Loyalist Township doesn't fund this program. So it's a win-win. And all you have to do is agree to in-kind services, which means, maybe or that, provide, the United Church provides chairs, because the grants that you have to apply for are 80% funded and 20% in kind. So whatever we can figure out that we can say that we're giving them for free will allow us to get a grant from the government.
Doesn't cost this council anything.
And Mr. Amo applies for all the grants and does all the programs. Okay.
We're at the 10-minute mark.
Got it.
We thank you for your time and
Thanks for your
you're
time.
here to hear any questions.
Yeah.
And
Comment.
Okay, now we'll go around the table. Councillor Sonnets.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Great initiative. I applaud you for taking initiative to do this. I've mentioned before that I'm a member of that association and know how effective they are. One additional piece of information perhaps is many of the instructors who are involved are all volunteering their time. So there's not an ongoing cost associated. So your ask is very specific, so I'm gonna go through one at a time. If I understand your request for space for the general meeting, it's a one-time request to have a meeting.
After the surveys back, probably. We don't know yet.
Okay, but it's a
Yes,
one-time request.
that's a one time for review of the service.
So you get information in advance. The survey, I guess it falls to whether staff has the time or no. I think if it's cost $100. Well, there's work associated with it, so I would be in favor of that if staff has the time. The other is your third request regarding negotiating the post agreement. For me, that's too, I don't know where you are and where you would be in the whole process and what legal obligations that I can ask.
Well, we forgot to mention that they pay for the insurance. The senior stuff,
But when I hear legal, I hear red flags go off, that's all.
right?
So
Yeah.
I think we have to be cautious about how we're getting involved with the legal agreement. That is my comment.
Oh, please.
I don't have any comments.
Councillor Hope.
Okay.
I think you guys did a lot of work.
I did.
It's a great initiative. My suggestion would be that we do community grants. We have a 7 now, maybe apply for that and you know, maybe help with startup costs, as long as our staff's okay with it as time, I think you're just looking for a little bit of help, not really too much money, which I love. So, I think anything we can do to help you out, that's great.
Can we respond?
Mhm.
So the grant money would be worked out by the senior center and then brought to the community for maybe upgrades or services or things that will be required in it. Initially, there's really no costs.
Except for this $100.
It's the individuals are paying their membership fee, and so the rental agreement is with the senior center. And they are dealing with all of that
You know,
legality. So there's no responsibility for you, council. And in terms of the survey, it is ready to go. All it needs to happen is photocopy it. We could even, you know, drop off those envelopes at post office if we walk across the street. So it's really minimal ask of your staff as it is ready to go.
and Sherry and I are even willing to look at the surveys and to get the data.
Right.
They're gonna do that. So the staff, there's not much else.
Yeah.
Just the that.
Hey. Any other questions?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My comment on the survey and that, it would be nice if you had something verifiable, in other words, put your civic address down. That way you know that you get to all the areas and you don't have to name, age and everything else, but it becomes more verifiable.
We did ask if there are resident and non-resident.
Yeah.
Or,
Was that verifiable? Anyways, so that's just my suggestion on that. Also the grants that they're applying for, do you know what ministry they're under?
we actually met and looked at grants that we could apply for, but when we found out there's a seniors grant for activities, there's also a grant for activities for health communities.
Mhm.
We found about 5 grants that we could have applied for, but the senior center's doing that, so why would we do it?
Well, that's fine, I was just wondering if they, which ministry.
We can
they
give
were
you a
at.
list of them by email
Yeah.
because we looked into it.
That's good, I was just gonna make a
If you
suggestion,
need more information, we can email it out to you.
I was gonna make a suggestion for you on that, cause I was at an in-service and that where one of the ministry people danced across the room saying, free money, free money, free money. Have I said free money in that, so I was gonna give you his phone number,
Okay,
if you have a pen. And that, and his name is Alex DeWitt, DeWitt, and his phone number is 613-827-1295. He's with the Ministry of Agriculture and Agribusiness. But not only do they have free money, they have people that will help put together any grant money from other ministries as well. But they only fund projects. So if in the future you want to have your own building or something like that, that might fall in under it as well, and that. Also, the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming. And they have regional representative as well, but probably Alex would be your best bet if you want to find out where there's more free money as well as in-kind money, but if, I appreciate if Kingston's doing a lot of that legwork for you, great. But they made a point that Eastern Ontario had not asked for enough grants,
right.
so there you go.
Well, thank you for that, Judy.
Well,
We were sort of looking at, we thought that we could do the proposal ourselves. I had to do a proposal for my master's in nurse practitioner, so I knew how to do it to get grants for a certain program. But it would be very helpful if we had somebody that knew the healthcare, you know, or the health promotion, illness prevention sort of grants that are available.
they're very keen in supporting anything rural.
Yeah,
And that, and they have staff to help, but anyways, that's an aside, so thank you very much
Thank you
for
for
the
your time.
proposal, I look forward to. Moving forward with this discussion, thank you.
okay.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, second by Councillor Bolton, that council thanks Suzanne O'Reilly and Sheila Zaborowski for their delegation regarding the creation of a senior center on Wolf Island. And that council approved in-kind donation of space at either the Wolf Island Community Building or the Township Seniors Apartment. And that council supports Sherry Zaborowski and Suzanne O'Reilly to negotiate a proposed agreement with the Kingston Senior Center and United Church to operate a seniors center on Wolf Island.
Okay, that doesn't include their ask of
No,
the mail $100.
so if,
Can I make an amendment? No?
Yes,
So I'd offer an amendment to add the request for support for issuing the survey.
you want a dollar value involved with that, or is that strong enough?
no, I don't have.
Okay,
I just said,
$100 is probably a little on the low side, since it's probably gonna get mailed out to like 600 households on each local tomorrow. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ackley will be second.
So through you, Madam Mayor, the amendment on the floor is moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Ackley, that council supports staff distribution of the survey and mail out.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Those in favor of the amendment? Carried. Now to the main motion.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Holton, that council thanks Suzanne O'Reilly and Sherry Zaborski for their delegation regarding the creation of a senior center on Wolf Island. And that council approved in-kind donation of space at either the Wolf Island Community Building or Township Seniors Apartment. And that council supports Sherry Zaborski and Suzanne O'Reilly to negotiate a proposed agreement with the Kingston Senior Center and the United Church Council to operate a senior center on Wolf Island. And further that council support the distribution, or council support staff distribution of the survey and mail out.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I think that the offer of the in-kind space and that for the community building and seniors, I didn't really hear it in the request, but I think it's generous. And that's so if you want to get started a little bit quicker, it sounds like you have some space coming your way. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Now, we have Catherine Slagle on behalf of the Blue Moose Bed and Breakfast, Fargo's General Stores, Spicer's Dockside, Blurred Bake Shop, Fishtail Shop, the Hotel Wolf Island, the Wolf Island Pub and Pizzeria, the Backyard Bistro, Back Road Bistro, regarding the Wolf Island Business and Tourism Co-op financial support proposal, a pilot project to hire a temporary part-time coordinator position. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Well, hello, Sharps, and thank you for having me here today on behalf of 8 Wolf Island businesses to pitch our proposal to fund a temporary part-time coordinator position to help unite island businesses with the aim of revitalizing our island economy. Since ferry and dock construction began in 2020, we've experienced a decrease in tourism, which has directly stunted the growth of our businesses. We have witnessed businesses close and are mindful that the continued delays will make all the wonderful things our island has to offer be forgotten. As a group, we continue to remain optimistic for our futures, but are aware that to succeed, we need township support and a unified voice. Business associations on the island have come and gone, but what has made them succeed is a central point of contact, a coordinator, an advocate. And as a collective, we are asking the township for approximately $10,000 to fund a coordinator position to help establish and oversee a Wolf Island business and tourism co-op. A co-op is a group of people working together to help their neighbors and to build their community. And that is exactly what we are looking to do. And this is why we're asking for your support to provide the funds to hire a business and tourism coordinator. We are very aware that other groups are also requesting funds to support their project. But what makes our proposal unique is that the funds are to support 8 businesses versus one single organization. And ultimately, if we were successful and the co-op established, we would look to broaden our scope to include other Wolf Island businesses and those on Howe and Simcoe, which would make the funds provided go even further. With the Wolf Islander 4 back and in the village, this is the opportune tune. Oh, I was so close. Opportune time to support this venture and your local businesses. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about our proposal.
Any questions, Councilor Saunders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So thank you for a lot of work. I know you've been working on this for a while. I guess I'd make a comment. Seems like most municipalities, is a hard word, I'm aware, have some form of a business organization. BDIAs, Kingston has a tourism office, so we're somewhat unique in that we don't have one of those. So I think looking forward, for when and if 4 actually runs all the time, we have regular transportation. I think it's good to be looking forward. So what I see here is you're asking for some seed money to get this started. Is that
Correct.
okay?
This is about establishing the groundwork to make something sustainable.
So would you consider halving your request rather than 10,000? Would you consider a lesser amount of 5,000, which the remainder will be split amongst the 8 or so businesses?
So to be honest, I would say no. So if you look at those funds that would be distributed over the 8 businesses, and again, those funds would only be a ripple effect and help affect other businesses as well. We looked at the numbers and feel that this is the smallest amount of time to be able to actually successfully make this work. This is 1 day a week, 8 hours for 10 months. And we looked at trying to shorten that. But all that does at that point is give us an extra hands on deck during our tourism season. But what we need to be looking at is prior to that, getting prepared and organized, and then also looking after the tourism season and extending what we have to offer into the shoulder seasons as well. And this is a tough position. This is just not gonna be, hey, I'm just gonna pull some events together. This is laying the groundwork for a co-op that could then help the island down the road.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Ackley?
Deputy Mayor asked the question.
What about volunteer? We just went through, we had a pile of seniors on the island, we have some very talented people. Have we reached out and seen if we can get a volunteer? I know our community center, we have a dedicated volunteer that's unreal, and he doesn't get any pay, so. I think we need to pursue that or make a pay decision, maybe to have.
I feel there's less and less volunteers. And things like this are falling onto the table, falling onto the people that already have too much on their table. And this is why this hasn't gotten off the ground. We tried this a year ago to get all the businesses together, but we are so understaffed that we don't have the time within our remit to be able to do this. And is there a dedicated person outside who might be able to? Sure, but this is locking us in to succeed for the tourism season that's coming next.
Yeah, so I guess that'd be my suggestion is. Maybe, or we spend 10,000 on something, we'd go and see if there's a volunteer in the community, there might be 4 or 5 come forward, or maybe there's lots of talent out there. That we haven't tapped. We'd like to try that approach. That's my.
You may be aware that some aren't maybe. I am the chair of the County of Frontenac Planning and Economic Development, so when I saw this. I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware, for the past 3 years, the county's been setting money aside to have. Dedicated events type of planning person. And so when I saw this, I emailed out to the staff at the county and asked, because your proposal indicated that they had support, so. With your indulgence, I'll just read what just came in this morning, that. The team at the Frontenac Economic Development is committed to supporting all of our communities, including Wolf Island. Our understanding from the business community is that they are seeking assistance in forming a local cooperative organization to improve communication and coordination among the business, the township, the county, and other partners. As I this is from Richard Allen. As I understand it, the proposed part-time administrative support position is intended to help with foundational tasks for the co-op such as incorporation, bylaw development, meeting coordination. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. This initiative is being led locally and our team can provide advice, perspective, and partnership opportunities for the regional level, from the regional level. At the moment, we do this with similar groups and individuals such as the Charlotte Lake Business Group in Central Frontenac, the manager of community developments in Northern Frontenac. And with the new community development officer position at the county, we anticipate enhanced coordination with our township partners, particularly in areas like tourism, marketing, and regional initiatives. However, this county role does not include direct administrative support for local business groups such as minute taking and incorporation tax. Our goal is to complement local efforts, not duplicate them. I see the proposed cooperative and administrative support as a way to strengthen our connection to Wolf Island's business community and enhance our ability to support tourism and economic development across the county. So that clarified it for me, and that is the role that we're just about to fill at the county level. That's so, and it's very crystal clear as to this being seed money for you to get up and running for a corporation bylaw and then become self-sustaining. And I think back on last year when we were asked suddenly to support the gravel grinders bike run that, and we had some funds, we supported it, and it's the leftover money was paid back, and now they're self-sustaining. And that, so this is a one-time ask, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. If you have a pen, and that I'll give you also, because I'm a big believer in grants, there's a Rural Ontario Development Grant, and the number for that is 1-877-424-1300. And the person there is Kent Fitzhugh, HITZHUGH at ontario.ca if you want to get him. His phone number, 613-539-5479. And the previous information I gave about Eastern Ontario and that to the other group is still applicable in that, because this is rural area and it's worthwhile to go after those grants as well. But I just want to make sure that you're not limited, because I used to be a member of WIPTA, which was the Wolf Island Business and Tourism Association, that was tied to a council and ended up closing up. So the more independent that you guys can be, the better it would be in the long run. Because you never know how the winds of change can occur at a council level. So I hope that's been helpful. And I don't have a question at this point in time, because as I said, I just want to get it clarified from the county that we aren't actually duplicating anything. And we aren't. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now, any further discussion by council? Mr. Saunders, directly? No.
No, I guess, just clarify, this is a one-time ask.
Correct.
It won't be knocking back next year asking for somebody for 40 hours a week. Then I would suggest that the best way is to apply to our community funding that we give out and consider that budget.
So I thought that was a previous process.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So technically, the community grants are for not-for-profit groups. So with the co-op, it kind of directly supports for-profit businesses, which is why you're here today with the request. Just because that fund is generally just for the not-for-profit groups. Yeah, so just that clarification there. The request is coming to in council kind of as a separate thing. I'm not sure what the resolution would be, but just as part of the budget process, if council's interested to see, including the budget, how this would shape out, I could prepare it as part of the draft. I guess the other thing too, just while I'm sitting here today, just a couple of points of clarification. The requested amount looks like it's for the gross salaries.
Correct.
And from your presentation, or from the letter, it states that the township would be, hiring a position, it would be under the township kind of employment. So in that case, we would also, if it was included in the budget, we'd have to account for, benefits like deductions, EIs, and all that stuff. Is it that your request, I guess, a maximum of $10,000 and however that fits in, like, for example, reduce the amount of weeks so that with salary and benefits, the position could be funded? If you get what I'm saying, just because if we did the full, February to December, like at that rate, there might be like additional benefit costs that we'd have to budget for as well.
So how we came up with that figure is we used a position that's currently employed to the township. And if, say, we were to extend someone's hours to include this post based upon salary pay grades, they might be higher up in a pay grade versus hiring someone new that might be lower on the pay grade. So that provided a buffer.
Okay.
But yes, as we aren't a standalone organization or incorporated at this point, we have no legal grounds to actually be hiring someone. So that's why we thought it could be best to put it under the township umbrella temporarily until we're established.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Are we thinking of a contract then position?
Yeah,
Term limited.
through you, Madam Mayor, like when I read the letter, because some of the township and it's for a set amount of time. It would, I would see it as a contract, one-time position with a set amount of months. Again, I think with this as well. We can definitely be done in the budget, there's just some, I guess, logistics, like you said, whether it's someone new or we have to pass it internally. As far as the hiring decision, if, you know, that's fully with the township to kind of find a person and then they kind of work with the, you know, the businesses to meet the goals, so. But I believe your request today would be one-time kind of contract position within the township.
Correct.
And I have a question then for the CAO, because when we were expanding the administrative support for the township, and that a part of that was to go towards promotion and communication of events and things of that nature. Not much, the example I gave was Kate Vincent, New York, and that sends out on a weekly basis, a very insightful and full event coordinating piece. Is there possibility of dedicated one day of time of clerk from us? And that for this startup that's already built into our budget?
It's a good question, Madam Mayor. I would have to actually sit down and review the hours and that kind of thing with respect to internal staff that we already have. So the motion that we are proposing is that council direct staff to include the requested range in the amount for the 2026 budget discussion. So certainly when we come back on November the 24th for our council meeting budget, staff can have that range incorporated, as well as we would have time to review current staff schedules and time allocation type thing.
Thank you. The reason I think about it is for the facilitation of even the expertise of getting incorporated status. That we have a CPA that is also readily available and can work hand in glove, and that there might be an opportune time to do it within our own fiscal budget too. And with expertise that you're not searching for. So just a thought. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Councilor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Pick up on the treasurer's comment, the request, I guess I suggest an amendment that the request for the amount of funds be limited to $10,000, including any additional or potential cost for plans and benefits, is that the right term?
Yeah. And I guess through you, Madam Mayor, it also depends if it is a new person and not a current one. If they don't have a laptop, there might be, you know, IT considerations, so we'd have to kind of take all those considerations and then present it, I guess, as part of the budget. But if, you know, if that was $10,000 with gross and, you know, the benefits and any IT costs. I think likely it'd be part of the budget discussions, but we would, you know, maybe it's from March or April to December or whatnot, or we'd have to decide or increase the amount of funding allocated to cover this cost.
Okay. open for budget discussion at this point in time.
Yeah.
So should we be deferring this particular request?
Through you, Madam Mayor, my suggestion would be, that we do the amendment as proposed by Deputy Mayor Saunders. That the requested range include, benefits in lieu.
Yeah, so basically just full payroll costs for the employee. That'd be the easiest way to say it.
Equipment.
Yes, potentially, yeah. Because it's a contract, there might be some equipment we could utilize, but normally the new position, you know, we have IT to get, but we could make do. This is just a temporary session.
It would be my hope that we can find it within our staff allotment, because we have increased significantly the amount of administrative staff, you know, and it's like a timed project, and that could be handed over then to this group to take and run with after the fact.
Madam Mayor, if I may, do I have a seconder for Deputy Mayor Saunders?
Correctly.
So the amendment on the table is that the requested range include full payroll costs in equipment to be inserted before amount in the second paragraph of the motion.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Gary?
Main motion is moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Ackley, that council thank Catherine Slagle for her delegation regarding the Wolf Island Business and Tourism Co-op financial support proposal. And that council directs staff to include the requested range. To include full payroll costs and equipment being full payroll and equipment costs in the 2026 budget for discussion.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Eric. You're in the discussion now for budget. Thank you. Okay, now we come to the consent agenda. Adoption is our receipt of the minutes from October the 14th, public meeting, October the 14th, council meeting, the October 27th special meeting of council.
Through you, Madam Mayor, also, information item, we received a letter from the gravel grinder cycling event. It's just a thanks for donating, they returned the funds, so the motion I bring from the floor is moved by Councillor Ackley, seconded by Councillor Holton, that the October 14th, 2025 public and council meeting minutes and the October 27th, 2025 special meeting minutes of council be adopted as presented or amended, and that information items be received.
Okay. Any discussion? Councillor Summers.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull the information item regarding the gravel grinder, speak to that specifically.
Okay, and in the minutes of October 14th council meeting, under my remarks, my point of the Marysville Public Schools is that it was suspended. It is not closed. It's not been a decision made by the Limestone District School Board to close it. It was suspended, and that's why ongoing efforts to try to get something going at that school from the public school board is hopefully still being done in good faith at their level. As I indicated at that meeting, I'd suggested perhaps French immersion, because we have so many of the kids going to Kingston for French immersion. They need something like that, but it's not slated to be mothballed or sold or anything at that point in time yet. And so if anybody has any kids they want to adopt and put into the school grade. All right, so we'll pull this out first, Councillor Saunders asked for.
Certainly. Go ahead. This has been brought before. I just want to again highlight that this council provides some seed money, be it in-kind donations to help this group get this race started. As the letter says, over 100 cyclists were deployed. There was no accounting for the dollars that were spent with local businesses, but they all report they saw a bump of business, which is a great intent. So again, I think it's an example where we can work with the community and community groups. We can bring more tourism and more commerce to the island. So that was my comment.
Was a good news story. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor? Oh, are you just have discussion?
Just a comment on it, just
Okay.
like I say, we gave them $870. They returned $215, and we also got $1,000 donation to the fire department, so I mean, that's a good community investment.
Yep, good all the way around, good job. Okay, so all those in favor? Here. Now we're at the staff reports. We have the fire department report number FP 001-25 emergency plan exercise. You have Chief Quinn going to speak to that, I take it? Yes, please. You're up next.
I can, through you, Madam Mayor, again, the reports before council, it's really just information. We conducted the tabletop exercise, which is a provincial requirement, and feedback was that the exercise went well.
Okay, any discussion for some?
Thank you, Mayor. As you may know, North Frontenac had an emergency with a forest fire. Had a chance to talk to their mayor. And they were very appreciative about the service the OPP provided. So I mentioned that because in our tabletop discussion, we talked about notice of people for evacuation, keeping track of people. They indicated, the mayor indicated that they had a lot of support from OPP to do that kind of thing. So there may be some learning for us from that exercise they went through.
Okay, Councillor Ackley?
No comment.
Councillor Hilton?
Okay.
Okay, it was a good exercise. We used the scenario of overturning oil tank, the type of thing, the potential of contamination and exposure and fire and everything else. I will say, I hope next year that we do a potential of ferries being knocked out of service for extended hours. And that applies to several of our islands. And that to make sure that we get everything down the path. Great.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by Councillor Bolton, second by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that fire department report number FD 001-25 of emergency plan review and exercise report to be received.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Here. Okay, now we're at finance report, FN 014-25 2025. Q3 year-to-date financial reports. And let's see, we're gonna Mr. Jesse Collins.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So, 4 financial reports to get through today. So, this one you're all familiar with. It's our quarterly results report. Overall, consistent with the last 2 quarters, the township is projecting to stay on budget or beneath budget. Right now, we're currently having a surplus of $438,000. So with regards to this, just speaking from the operational side of the budget, again, across the board, there's been really strong performance. Most departments have over 25% of the budget remaining going into Q4. Just speaking kind of for all the departments, there are some where we do expect a little bit higher costs in Q4. So there might be, for example, salt and sand that we purchase for our roads maintenance, winter maintenance. We have volunteer firefighter honorarium groups that go in December, and a few kind of other costs that kind of end up in the year. But operationally, I think the township, again, we're in a really good spot. Staff, is monitoring the budget, management has the monthly meetings, and we're really making sure to kind of maximize what we spend on. And if there's money, again, that we have extra to, hopefully fund the reserves and build up those balances. What I did kind of want to focus just on the report in front of you today is the capital costs. So compared to the last two reports, I'm been saying it early in the year, you know, a lot of capital activities coming. And the bulk of the capital activity has finished for both islands. Just kind of a high level note, for both islands, capital kind of net expenditures, so what our revenue less our expenses is. It looks like it's gonna finish underneath budget, so kind of just starting with both. In Q3, again, there was kind of three main or four kind of main capital purchases. So one, the big one is the roads projects. The surface retreatment we did on Highway 96, as well as Joy Road. So just to give a high level summary, included in the budget for expenditures was $971,000 to complete 10 kilometers on Road 96 and 1.1 kilometers on Joy Road. Actual expenditures for the project actually totaled to be $958,000. So we had just shy of $13,000 under budget for our road work on Wolf Island. Again, a big thanks to our Public Works Department. They worked very hard to complete that project, complete that under budget and on schedule. Again, just to highlight, this kind of been mentioned a couple times, so as you recall, we didn't do any capital work in 2024, so we had additional funds to use the government. The CCBF, the Canada Community Building Fund, and the OSIF, Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund. We used in total $387,000 to kind of fund that road project. At the end of Q3, kind of looking forward for roads. There's still loan payments to happen in the department, as well as the roof tender that we completed. So that work is now done, but it was completed in Q4, so not included on this report. $102,000 remaining in the capital budget. With how the costs come in, we will finish under budget when I present the Q4 for the Wolf Roads capital projects. Some other activity we saw was in the fire department. So as you recall, we received a generous donation just under $73,000 to go towards our Wolf Island Fire Department. In Q3, we were able to purchase the bunker gear for $43,000, as stated for the use in the letter. There's still the purchase of the AED, and that's expected to be finished in Q4, and those donation funds will be fully utilized in year. The Wolf Island Fire Department construction finished on the Simcoe storage building. Again, a reminder for this project, MTO agreed to fund this project at 80%. The unfunded portion cost of the township is $20,850. Important to note, just when you look at the report, originally wasn't included in the budget as we expected the project to finish late 2024, but it got moved to 2025. With that being said, as part of our general operating budget, we taxed $25,000 to go into reserves, or sorry, that was included part of the budget. So this cost $20,000 or $20,000. We have funds that would go to reserve that could cover it. So we're not kind of pulling from anything new. It can be funded from taxation within the year. Lastly, with respect to CCB or the community center, we had the report to council where we purchased a new light bulb. Again, so that was a $13,000 purchase, and during that council, it was to be funded from the CCB reserve. All in all, Wolf Island at the end of Q3, with all capital projects mostly completed, has a surplus of $85,000. Again, I expect that we should still finish the year in a surplus position. We still just have to wait for Q4 to finish out, but again, in a really strong spot. Similar to Howe Island, again, kind of going right into the capital activity. Budgeted capital project awards for the roads totaled for the road construction was $411,000. Just to note as well, the project was fully completed in Q3. For this project, there was additional gravel expenditures, so the actual final cost was just under $426,000. With that being said, we had savings in other purchases, with, for example, the mulcher for the backhoe. So all in all, for the roads department, with all capital projects completed, it came in $184 under budget, which I don't think we can get much closer than that. So maybe a little props to our Fire Chief Quinn here for having a very accurate budget. And again, sorry, just to briefly mention, we also did use $263,000 between the OSIF and the CCBF. Again, it's great to see the work getting done this year and us staying on budget. I know staff is all very happy we were able to manage that. Again, when you look at the budget, we don't have any more projected capital costs for the rest of the year. So I think we came in with 2% of the net capital budget remaining. Overall, again, how Life Wolf Island is in a strong position with $190,000 surplus going into the fourth quarter. Again, that's kind of a high level summary of the report. I really kind of just wanted to give an update on the capital projects. And again, no concerns on the operating side either. So, if any questions?
Thank you very much. Councillor Saunders.
Yeah, Mayor, there's a lot of anxiety with the change in recycling on Howe Island, and I noticed in your report, you're saying the deficit, but we're expecting revenues. Can you have
Oh.
received any money or?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. So not to kind of complicate things, so for 2025, the process was that we would operate the depot on behalf of Certain Materials, and with that, we get a monthly allotment. What I was trying to communicate there is that in the budget for 2025, I budget the full year's, what we get in revenue. So we were getting revenue from July to December, but when I do Q3, we've only received revenue for the first, 3 months. So all I'm saying is the revenues will appear lower because I'm only reporting on 75% of the year, where the budget's on 100% of the year. Again, overall, I think the department on the expenditure side, we finished just under what we budgeted for the 6 months. So no concerns with that department, but that was just what I was noting there, recycling side.
So follow up question, specifically, how much money have we gotten
Yeah.
this recycling program?
Yeah. Yeah, so just trying to make sure I get the right number, sorry, just 1 second. So Howe Island gets around $2,700 a month, so from basically from July to September, we're looking at 11,000 is what would be billed. And then we also just have to receive the money. So again, we have the 6 months term, just I guess to keep it simple, is like $2,700 per month from July to December.
So further follow up,
Yeah.
so that's to pay for the cost of operating it.
Yes,
Do we receive any money for the recycled materials that leave the island?
so for what's collected through Certain Materials, no, so they handle the cost of kind of taking the bins, like the only depot costs we're incurring currently would just be staff salary and wages. And when they take out regular household recycled materials, we don't get any rebate. We are getting that monthly payment again to the end of the year. If there's like special, like again, if there was, for example, like metal, we have deals where we get rebates based on that. But that's separate from household waste, that's additional items.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor
One
Adam.
more question on the recycle. So come January, recycle cost for Howe Island will be zero.
Yes, correct. The budget that will be presented will be $0 for the recycling department.
We don't get any money for the product, we just don't pay any money, then we're removed.
Yes, yeah, and I kind of, again, just to put into context. In 2024, before there was any recycling program, Howe Island raised $50,000 in taxes for the recycling department. 2024, with this additional revenue, we raised 17,000. 2026, we'll raise 0. So from this, before this all started, it's a $50,000 difference.
Councillor Holt.
I have no questions, it looks like everything's in good shape, thank you.
Okay, and yes, I'm pleased. I hope we don't get any rude surprises in the fourth quarter, especially with underneath $4 some margin there. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, second by Councillor Holton, that finance report FN 014-25, 2025 Q3 year-to-date financial report be received.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Yeah. We have finance report number 015-25 development charges. Treasurer's annual statement.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So this report, I had one last year as well. It's basically just a requirement that I bring this to council and it gets published on our website. Just as a reminder, development charges. So when you have building permits, development charges are charged. And the purpose of it is to fund growth of the township. The underlying concept is growth should pay for growth, and that if the township needs to expand or has additional kind of further capital purchases. It's not on the additional residents, that there's some money coming in from the development that's happening. So kind of high level report, we completed the study in 2021 and we've been collecting since then. In 2024 on Wolf Island, we collected $54,000 development charges. And that accrued interest as well. And then on Howe Island, we collected just under $10,000 as well, development charges. With this as well, so you'll actually be seeing with this budget coming up, staff is proposing utilization of development charges for capital projects. Not to get into it much today, but for example, we have the bypass road that has not been completed. Development charges, as again, was included in the study, they could be used to utilize to cover some of the construction costs. So again, looking at the statement, we have what's been collected for each of the areas that were in the study. With Wolf Public Works being the largest at $223,000. Again, that will all kind of go to budget for budget discussion and get council approval. Just with this report today, just wanted to get an update on what we've collected, as well as where some potential use we have in the future as well.
Questions, Councilor Saunders?
Thank you.
Councilor Ackley? No comment. Councilor Holst? No questions. On page 3 of your report, I got lost on your percentages.
Okay.
Under the Howe Island, it seems to add up to 149.38%. The administrative cost 4.34, fire protection 55.12, public works 89.92. So
I'm in agreement, that does not add to 100, so there must be a typo in there.
I had a feeling maybe 55.12 going to fire protection might be the
Yeah.
outlier.
So let me see if I could quickly just pull up. I can probably get the exact percentages. It might take a second. What I will say is the numbers in the schedule are correct. It's just in the body of the paragraph. Obviously, one of those numbers is wrong, but the allocation and schedule is correct.
So before we post it,
Yes,
I'd like to-
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by Councilor Ackley, second by Councilor Holton, finance report number FN 015-25. Development charges 2024, treasurer's annual statement be received for information, and then staff upload report FN 015-25 and scheduling on the township's website.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Now our finance report number FN 01625, 2026, Howe Island Ferry receipts. There we go. Treasurer.
Yep. Almost got 2 more to come. Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So this report is something that we take to council annually. Basically, because we share the ferry service with the county of Frontenac, every year we need council to kind of approve the rates we set for the next year. So kind of just a little brief summary is that in 2025, we increased the ticket prices, so that's the single use, it went from $8 to $10. And then I believe the passes were also increased before, again, within the last 2 years. So basically this report, in consultation with the treasurer of the county of Frontenac, we looked at the revenue coming in. We've determined that there's no additional increases required for 2026. So all we're proposing is that we apply the 2025 rates to 2026 without any changes.
Okay, any questions, Councilor Saunders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report refers to a reserve. So what's the topic of the meeting?
Yeah, so there's a reserve fund held by the county.
Is there any money in that fund?
No, so that was full utilized. With the tickets, again, it depends on activity. hopefully there might be enough to start to build that up a little bit. But yeah, as it stands now, that's been completely depleted. And I think a lot of that was during kind of the COVID times, that had to be used in that.
So there's no plan or no requirement to have a reserve.
Okay, Counselor Ackley?
What do all the ferry fees go to? For?
Yes, so again, it's to fund the 20% not covered by MTO. If you remember my report from last year, one, I sort of two things to consider. One is that we got an invoice from the County of Frontenac of $24,000. So when we had the increase last year, that was to make sure we're collecting enough in fees that it doesn't ultimately fall back on the township. The other, there was, again, it was in the report, there was concern of potential extra legal costs. Again, those would be on the County of Frontenac side. I had no knowledge of whether those materialized or not. But going forward, like a go forward basis, these funds should be sufficient to cover the cost. And maybe there will be enough to add a little bit to reserve and cover any downfalls and shortfalls in the future years.
One other question, I just see that, you know, I drive over on this big boat. And I drove over on our bigger boat that is more MTO run, you know. They all got nice outfits and stuff, and our guys get a $200 budget. Does MTO not, should they not supply clothing, proper clothing, the stripes and whatever, you know, with a bigger allowance for an unlimited amount of clothing like I see happens on our Highlander, compared to our own ferry, the little Highlander, and it's upsetting to watch that. Every day I see a new $80 pair of gloves on somebody, and I go take the little foot ferry, and they're wearing their mitts from home.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little upsetting, nerve-wracking, you know, that they're both run by MTO technically. But the funding's there for the big one and nothing's there for the little one, and, you know, we're all missing it, we don't have a sea can full of clothes for our little ferry.
Just a point of clarity,
Yeah,
County of Frontenac runs the larger ferry. Township runs the 3-car ferry. The MTO owns the ferry and does maintenance on it, et cetera, and that,
but the county flows those people, the MTO doesn't flow them. Our funding from our tickets goes towards the county with a big budget compared to our little ferry with a small budget.
the treasurer explained.
Yeah, through Madam Mayor, I mean, as we have with clothing, again, whether for us or the county, it's the same 80% cost covered. They might be budgeting higher for clothes, so with the budget presented to council, I know we do have a clothing allowance and cheap equipment, but if you want to speak to it all or how it's utilized, but as far as I'm aware, again, there is an allowance for them to use annually for clothes needed to complete the work. Ultimately, if it was, you know, a matter again of importance, it could be reflected in our budget, we could increase what we have in the allowance. We usually get approval from MTO and usually a reason, but if we said, hey, we're, you know, it's really out of date, we need more this year. It's definitely a request staff can easily bring it to the MTO and get approval on their end and then get approval on council.
Counselor Holton.
No question. No change, so that's good.
Okay. I believe MTO will probably be warm to the request if we actually need a case that we need to upgrade the outerwear for our people. And that run the Simcoe Island and the very successfully. And so.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, if we brought it up, they'd most likely say yes. They're quite cooperative when it comes to that.
Yeah. They're usually reasonable sense. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, no, sorry, go ahead, I just have to. Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, second by Councillor Ackley, the finance report FN 016-25 2026 Howell Island ferry fees be received. And that council approve the proposed 2026 Howell Island ferry fees.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Now, actually, the next page I had in my package is actually the bylaw. Are we going to be doing that at the end? or-
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'll set it aside. Okay, now we're at finance report FN 017-25 2026, the budget survey results. And I believe that's gonna be, Jesse as well.
Yes, through our last time, or at least my last report today. So new to this year, we actually published online on our website as well as our new Facebook page, that we had an online budget survey that residents could complete. Historically in the past, I believe we would just people could either reach out on our website or send in an email or drop off a letter. But this is the first time we've actually had a full survey sent out to the public. I would, again, just as I go through this, a big thanks to our deputy clerk. She was a great assistance in setting up the survey, getting on the website and getting the results. So again, just wanted to give my thanks there. Kind of with to the survey, including this report, I've attached the results of the full survey. Just so everyone has the full information and they can review it and look at those details. My report is generally just a quick summarization of the high level points. And of course, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to kind of look at, you know, any of the specific questions. So in total, we got 93 responses to the survey. Again, it's the first year we're doing it. I think generally we were happy that we did have interest this year, and got a, you know, a decent sample of people participating. 70% were on Wolf Island, 25% were on Howe, with 5% from people from Simcoe Island. The majority of the responses came from residents or seasonal residents, over 92%, with the remaining responses from business, non-residents, or people that didn't declare how they relate to the island. So kind of the two main areas to focus on the results. So tax dollars and tax rates. We had a few questions that kind of looked at these items. So one of them was asking residents how they would rate the overall value for their tax dollars. So 76% of the response said either good or fair. 4% stated the value was excellent, but we had 19% said the value they received was poor. So again, with these results, I think it kind of indicates there's some general satisfaction with the use of tax dollars, but there's still kind of a lot more room for improvement. Either in how we use the tax dollars or how we communicate to the public how we're using it, just to make sure everyone's aware of what their tax dollars fund. We also did ask a question again, just as we go into 2026 budget season, if residents would be willing to increase their tax dollars to increase services, maintain the tax rate, but maybe have some cut to some services, or decrease the tax rate and cut services as well. So again, we saw the majority of the responses being either maintain the taxes of what they are at 43.7%, and 46% saying they're willing to see an increase in taxes to have an increase in services. Where we got 10.3% responding that they'd be wanting to see a decrease in taxes. Again, this is helpful information for staff as we prepare a budget, kind of taking in some feedback. Again, preparing a budget that this year, you know, not to get into it because it's going to be lots of discussion, but still prioritizing projects, but also being aware of the tax rate increases we've had the last couple of years, and kind of building that into a budget we have for 2026. Looking at budget priorities, we had a question, so they could check up to 5 answers, so that's why we have overall much more than 92 responses. But in total, the top 5 emergency services was the #1 priority for 89 people. Transportation, which include the ferry services, 86 responses. Road maintenance and replacement, 81 responses. Snow clearing at 59, and recreational facilities and events at 53. Again, when we asked about their most important issues and another question where this is where they could only select one, we saw similar results with 37.6 stating that emergency services were most important, and 35.5% stating that road and road maintenance was the most important. We did ask some questions, and again, for counselors, you can look through it. We asked, you know, whether people would be willing to have decreases in health places to fund increases in other departments. We also kind of asked for the main categories, whether they're in favor of enhancing, maintaining, or decreasing. Again, just from the results we started at a high level, for people, if they wanted to fund kind of the roads or the emergency services, there was some sentiment where money could be taken potentially away from recreational services to fund those. Again, though, I think with the survey, again, this is just kind of a sample, it's only 93 responses, and we know there's a lot more people on the island. But again, to provide this information to council, and also let council and the public know that we are taking it all into consideration as we prepare the budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions, Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Comprehensive survey, thank you for putting all that together. On page 14, which is the bar graph one.
Yeah.
What I read from this is the top three, you may have said this already, in terms of either enhancing, sorry, money going towards enhancing these items, it's emergency services, which I assume is primarily emergency services on Wolf regarding health issues. The other is transportation, which is ferry services, and the other is road maintenance and replacement. So I see those as the top three. Is that a fair?
Yeah, through Madam Mayor, I'd agree with that assessment, that those were the ones that people. And hence, I'd say people wanting to spend more money or see more township dollars go towards them.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Ackley?
Oh, I don't have any comment.
Councillor Holden?
Too bad we didn't get more responses, but I mean, it's kind of typical, you can get. Everybody says they want to, but. When it comes down to it, most people don't pay attention to us, so, hopefully another year, once everybody sees it, we'll get more responses.
And to that point, in particular, and that at the last meeting, I mentioned that many people have spoken to me about getting a hard copy, and we didn't have a type of lend itself to printing out for people to do the hard copy rather than just the online survey. I think that will help utilize, or at least help increase our response rate. Given the number of surveys that I've personally done, it's not difficult to get 300 responses within 1 to 2 days watching the line, which would be very helpful. On this, there were a few things that I caught my attention. And one was when thinking about the municipal budget and the tax dollars, which statement comes closest to your point of view? And you're right, and there seems to be an appetite for increased municipal service, even if the taxes and fees must increase. But I have to measure that with where they want us to spend the money on. As you indicated in that the emergency services, it's not so much the fire department they're concerned with, it is the paramedics, which is at the county level. So there isn't correlation of monies that we can spend at this point to fix that. If there's any consolation at the county level, they were approving putting deposits down for 3 new ambulances at the county when we already had 50 shifts that we couldn't staff for people. So what can I say? The county is the county in that, but there's no end in sight for the county supplying us with ambulance service, I can say. Another piece was thinking about the part of your taxes that goes to the township. How would you rate the overall value you receive for your tax dollars? It was actually quite concerning to me in that, because when I look at fair, poor, and very poor, it added up to 64.5%. So with that, I agree that we need to communicate much more effectively how we're spending the tax money. And I have brought forth before that we end up with a 1-pager, as I've seen in many of the other townships, that clearly identifies where's the percentage of tax money going, and getting that inserted in our tax notice, at least, and having it available so people understand where it's being spent. But that is 64.5%, gave us a fair, poor, or very poor rating, and that's concerning. We need to find out why and try to get that addressed. That deserves a deeper dive into writing. Overall, how satisfied are you with the delivery of all services provided by the township? Again, almost 25%, somewhat or very dissatisfied. 24%, almost 25% neutral, and that, so we have a ways to go. And does the municipality do a good job maintaining its infrastructure to an acceptable standard? 51.7% said never or sometimes, compared to 28% for most of the time, always, so we have a ways to go on that. And I do agree with, emergency services, but with the caveat, biggest driver is the ambulance service, which is at this point, this council has not even passed a motion to send the message to the county as to our view of ambulance services, and I think that is well past due. And for the ferry service, as you can appreciate, since MTO owns the boats, not as convinced that it's operational that they're complaining about from our perspective, that the two boats we own compared to the operational for 500 services. And perhaps the Cow Island services, county. But again, we're just the passengers for that, and sending communication by motion could be helpful perhaps at the county. And finally, the reduction in taxes. And that I take it with a grain of salt, and that where the budget should address the ideas, because again, it's weighted towards the fire and emergency services, but knowing it's ambulance is that outlier. And then improving roads and maintenance and looking at the snow removal is one of the big things that they talked about. Snow removal, we will not put our people at risk. If it's a blizzard out, stay home. I'm sorry if you're stuck on the road, but we're not gonna have snow plows going off the road, et cetera, and that's gonna be an ongoing challenge in operations. Okay, so I do appreciate the detail on that, and it's a wonderful first effort to get this much done. I do think we need to make sure that it is in a hard copy available and molded a little bit better in that, and we could. When I can get 300 surveys in the course of 2 days, and that, we should be able to get a lot done between these 2 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Great.
Moved by Councillor Ackley, second by Councillor Holton, the finance report FN 017-25, 2026 budget survey results be received.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Now, administration report number AD 022-25 2026 council meeting schedule.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I've done each year before, since I've started, I've prepared a schedule of meetings for the upcoming 2026 council meeting schedule. They have been divvied up equally. I'm not recommending a council meeting in October, being that October 26, 2026 is the election day for council next year. And then I would propose that we would have the inaugural meeting of the new council on Monday, November the 16th here at the chambers.
Okay. Any comments, Councillor Saunders? Councillor Acton?
No comment.
Councillor Holton? Okay, I see that there's only 4 meetings scheduled for Wolf Island and 5 for Howe Island. I think it's quite equal, and I think the population is higher on Wolf.
If I may, Madam Mayor, there would be 5 meetings scheduled for Wolf Island, with the inaugural meeting being on Wolf Island.
So that's like accounted equally, okay. And with the inaugural on the 16th, that's the 3rd Monday, so the new council won't be sworn in before I'm thinking November the 9th. That is the reason why we didn't do it before Remembrance Day.
So this current term of council goes to November the 14th of
Okay.
2026.
That's the way. Okay, thank you very much. You are. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I didn't put that was John.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, second by Councillor Ackley, that administration report number AD 022-25 regarding the 2026 council meeting schedule be received. And further that council approve the administration report AD 022-25 as presented and support the recommendations for the 2026 meeting schedule.
Okay, all those in favor? Now our administration report AD 023-25 holiday office hours and staff Christmas appreciation card.
So Madam Mayor, I will put the motion on the floor this time.
There you go.
Moved by Councillor Holton, seconded by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that administration report number AD 023-25 regarding healthy office hours and staff Christmas appreciation gift cards be received. And further that council supported administration report number AD 023-25 as presented and support recommendations.
Okay. Comments and questions, Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, there's really two requests here to see. First is I agree with the continued process of providing full-time employees and part-time employees with a Christmas gift. I have some difficulty with the office closure hours. So I guess, does this apply to you, Madam Mayor, to the CEO? Does this apply to all staff?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it would be the administration staff, so the administration staff would still be working, they would be working from home. Unless they have vacation time, which they have the option or the right to utilize any vacation. If they would like to utilize it between the Christmas and New Year schedule.
So thanks for clarifying, because I was wondering, I assumed it applied to all staff, and it's hard to plow the roads from your house. So thank you for, well, in the day of automation, who knows? So office staff have the opportunity to either stay home and work from home or take vacation. Why would we offer that option? Why not just have them take vacation? If they want those days off, come to work, take it, or take a vacation day.
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, I'm not following what you mean.
When Christmas falls in the middle of the week, which is
Yeah.
what we have.
Yeah.
You have the situation where you work a day and a half here, and you work a day and a half here. I'm used to past experiences where the people wanted that full time off. They wouldn't just get it off, or they would stay home, they would take a vacation day.
Correct, so through you, Madam Mayor, if they want that time off and not work at all, they can utilize their vacation days to be off from, say, the 24th to the January 2nd or 5th or whatever it is when we come back in. Or if they don't have the vacation days left, they can work from home as opposed to traveling into the office and being in the office. So the staff will still be answering the phones, they'll still be replying to emails. It's just, they'll be doing it from home as opposed to the office.
But there'd be nobody in the offices to accept or receive residents with questions.
That would be correct. Past history, it's not a busy time typically, and we don't see a lot of foot traffic in the offices.
Okay, thank you.
Through Madam Mayor, if I could just kind of add to that discussion, kind of by having this set and the offices closed. It gives staff the option to take vacation if they have it, and that is something as a township, right? It's the holidays, people have hours, we need them to take their vacation hours, we don't want them unused. If we commit to having the office open, then that might be someone might have a vacation request and it's denied. So this way, if the office is, if it's just set as closed for holiday hours, it allows people to take vacation if they want it. Again, no one's forced to take vacation. If they're not using their hours, the expectation is they still work. I know all our staff are set up to be able to work from home or remotely. Again, I think it's just a logistical matter with the number of staff we have. Any time of the year, right, we have vacation separated so that we can keep the offices open. It's just a little bit harder around the holidays. So I think part of the thing there.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ashford?
I believe everybody should work 7 days a week. I work hard, so I'm not in favor of the second half at all. I just believe that everybody should come to work, and if you do want to take a holiday, you book a holiday for the rest of the week off or so forth. But we need our stations manned or woman, or whatever they call it now. At the end of the day, I just believe people should work when they're supposed to work, so that's my opinion.
Hey, Councillor Holton?
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same line. Mine is more what's fair. It's not like majority of our staff can take it off. We've got to have physical people on the ground, so it's just based on fairness. I think if you want the time off, you need to take the time off or come to work. That's my opinion.
Okay. And I must say I'm inclined that way as well, because disasters can happen at any point in time, as we had just 3 years ago when we had the icing of all the docks, et cetera, and that, so if staff want to apply and use their vacation time, that still needs required approval from the CEO to make sure that the office is maintained, et cetera. But no, I'm inclined to make sure that we have hands on deck as well. Councillor Ackley?
So should we make a motion to strike the second half and,
We can just vote it down.
oh, okay.
Sorry if I may, Madam Mayor, so, the first half, if everyone is in agreement with the gift cards, we would need to approve that. So, yes, if it's okay with council, I will strike the second portion of this and just address the gift cards.
Okay. Does that need to be an amendment to remove that, or would you like us to vote on removing that second piece?
So I've received direction from council to remove that, correct?
Okay.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Holton, seconded by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that administration report number AD-02325 regarding holiday office hours and staff Christmas gift appreciation gift cards be received. Sorry, my apologies, this needs to be amended. And that council approved.
Vanessa, do you want to do council approved regular holiday hours? So typically it's half a day on the 24th, half a day on the 31st, and then open.
It's in the.
Oh, okay.
I'll say.
Okay, so, okay, yeah.
So I'm thinking, and that council approved the Christmas appreciation gift cards.
Okay, all those in favor? Carry. Okay. Now we're at administration report number AD-025-25. Appoint livestock valuers for the municipality of Frontenac Islands.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I put the motion on the floor. Moved by Councillor Holton, seconded by Councillor Ackley, that administration report number AD-025-25 appoint livestock valuers for the municipality of Frontenac Islands be received. And that council approve the and enact bylaw number 026-2025 to repeal bylaw 2015-23, bylaw 2017-21 to appoint John Van Streen and Don Thompson as the livestock valuers for this town of Frontenac Islands. Okay, so as we were going through some more bylaws and that kind of thing, we were made aware, actually, it was when we were doing the budget preparation, and we came to the budget slide for the livestock valuers. We started digging into it. We reached out to a couple of the former livestock valuers for Powell Island. Apparently they resigned some years ago, so we've not had coverage for Powell Island. We reached out to Mr. Van Streen, who does the livestock here for Wolf Island. He agreed to continue with the livestock valuers for Wolf Island, but declined to do for Powell Island. So this report is before council today to remove the two or repeal the two former bylaws appointing Mr. Guerra and Mr. Dwyer for Powell Island and appointing Mr. John Midstream for Wolf Island and Don Thompson for Powell Island.
Okay. Questions, Councillor Saunders?
Thank you.
Councillor Ackley?
I have a couple of questions. So it's a flat rate fee, right? They would do the paperwork and all for the amount of,
Currently, it's, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, currently it's $40 for Mr. Van Streen. We would be proposing $50 and that will be incorporated in our fees and fares bylaw next month when we bring it forward. And currently, correct me if I'm wrong, Jess, but I think Mr. Van Streen's getting 55 cents maybe per kilometer. Staff are proposing to change it to the ongoing CRA rate, so we don't have to change that.
And the second question is, I think John Van Stream from coming back and doing it again for us.
Yes.
You know, and, only thing on our behalf is, do we have to put this up as a job post on our island? Or is this just an administrative hire or?
Through Monday. It gets an appointment.
Yeah.
So, no, it's not an actual hire for the municipality kind of thing.
No.
So there are also, education, that he has to do through the Ontario Administrative Ag and Food. So once we get him appointed, then, we'll get him all set up for the training as well.
I just had a couple of people ask me why it didn't be posted, so they know the job is coming up, that's all.
Yep.
Not that, Don's not a great, asset to our community, but, you know, until the people ask them, but I guess if we have our back, we have our back. So.
Councillor Holt.
No question.
Okay, since we haven't had anybody over on how many dead animals we've been dealing with.
Through you, Madam Mayor, since my tenure here with the municipality, I believe we had one livestock killed last year. And my understanding that the farmer submitted pictures to Mr. Van Stream for the report to be submitted to the province.
Okay.
Lightning.
Or-
That was a lightning.
Okay. And what is the expected expense related to the training of Don Thompson?
Nothing is free.
It's free training.
Oh, the municipal, or yes, it's online training with the ministry.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions? All those in favor? Carried. Now, administrative report AB 026-25, sixth municipal election.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, second by Councillor Holt, and that administration report number 80-026-25 regarding the voting method for the 2026 municipal and school board election be received. And further that council authorized the use of the internet and telephone voting only for the 2026 municipal election. And that staff proceed with the joint request for proposal and partnership with county municipalities to secure an election service provider. And further that a bylaw be brought forward to formally authorize the use of electronic voting as the only method of voting in the 2026 municipal election. As council may recall, I brought forward a report, to the last council meeting, requesting the telephone and internet, voting. Subsequent to that meeting, in discussions with the, area municipalities, they are going strictly internet and telephone voting. They're not doing paper ballot. As we are doing a joint RFP, I propose to bring back a report to council seeking authority to do strictly internet and telephone voting. That being said, we would still have two polling locations, one at Allen and one here. For anyone that wished to come in and attend, had any questions, needed any assistance, anything like that. Certainly they would be open and, during office hours, as well as we would, with the telephone and internet voting, it's open 8 days in advance of the election day on the 26th. Staff would also propose to have one evening where we would remain open for any individuals that wish to come after work. The full close type of thing, to cast a ballot if they wish to do that. Certainly any questions with minutes.
Okay, Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My understanding is a candidate for election can have, I think it's called an adjudicator, or whatever, be there and checking the count and stuff like that, is that?
True, you, Madam Mayor. So it's not an adjudicator, it would be the name is.
So that's what I was.
Yes, yes,
Scrutineer.
yes.
Scrutineer, thank you very much.
Yes.
So, how does that work in this situation?
So certainly on election day, which is October 26th, any member of council or anybody that's running for council can have a scrutineer sit at either of the following locations. And then also the evening that we would remain open, they can appoint a scrutineer to sit there during that time as well.
So I guess. I feel like I have the same interpretation, Jesse, more detail, please. So, how does a scrutineer scrutinize the online or telephone stuff?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So they just ensure that it's no different than you receive your paper ballot, that, the individual coming in would have their, voter identification card, and they would have to still submit their, driver's license to ensure that, you know, this person is this, who they're saying they are with this voter card. So the scrutineer gets to oversee all of that. They certainly watch to ensure that, you know, no member and have staff or whoever is working the poll is guiding or, you know, influencing or anything like that, their vote.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ackley,
I'm not in favor of that. I believe people should use the paper ballot.
Councillor Holton.
I think, I mean, such a small percentage use paper ballot. Once I understood that people could actually come here and still place their vote at the polling station, I'm okay with it. I don't think we're gonna get too much foreign interference in a Frontenac County election, but that's my opinion.
Well, I can tell you that at AMO in August, we had the chief election officer for the province of Ontario speak to us, and our municipality was certainly the outlier with basically a 67% voting at the last election, that when others were at 10 and 12%, some of them in single digits. And one of the things that the chief election officer indicated was, you will never see telephone voting in the province of Ontario for provincial election. It is too unverifiable. And he was less condemning of the internet, although because you have to be able to track that, the internet address. And when you think of it, if we send out codes that is logged in for the election, that one person can end up voting for 5 or 6 people at their address. So it becomes problematic in that. And then I went to a conference at my own expense a couple weeks ago in Toronto called Healthy Democracy, sponsored by AMO. And lo and behold, there was the same concern. And that by people that some of them were CAOs that were running elections, and they said, no, we will not. Telephone voting in particular seemed to be the biggest red flag. And when I cited our success in having a mix of it, and we seem to have a constituency that likes to vote. And probably because we have an engaged constituency, and that to go to purely electronic and phone, I don't think we're serving our population well. Because when you look at the percentage, 25% actually voted by ballot, and that hand ballot. I don't think the results will be well accepted. It's actually 26%, I think. If we go with internet only and telephone, I can appreciate the dollar value argument, but sometimes election costs. And the points raised by Councillor Saunders regarding scrutineers is very true. And that is on the floor verification of ballots and that. So I think that we actually probably had the mix right before with internet, paper, and some telephone, and that is the wild card of it. So I won't be in favor of eliminating the paper ballot. It does cost, but I think that that's what democracy requires.
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I also may, so people that cast a ballot more than once, it is illegal and they can be charged, and it is a criminal offense. So I just want to put that out there as well. So if Council. Sounds like I've got a 2-2 vote here right now.
We can defer it because it's not urgent, and that it is a budget type of item though, because there is a difference in expense.
Shooting on there, ask the other explain the two, I didn't think we voted about it, what, sure. What you're referring to.
No one has, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, no one has voted, it's just the discussion at the table right now. It would appear that 2 would be in favor, 2 would not be in favor, or unless I'm just misreading. I'm just trying to,
Let's call the vote at this point in time,
as the motion stands.
as the motion stands. We have quorum. Okay, so
Would you like me to read it?
we can read.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Holton, that administration report number AD 026-25 regarding the voting method for the 2026 municipal and school board election be received. And further, that council authorize the use of internet and telephone voting only for the 2026 municipal election, and that staff proceed with a joint request for proposal in partnership with the county municipalities to secure an election service provider. And further, that a bylaw be brought forward to formally authorize the use of electronic voting as the only method of voting in the 2026 municipal election.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Being one, all those opposed? Proceeding. Okay,
So just before I move on from this. I still do have authorization from my previous. To do the internet and telephone voting, which I do have to pass the bylaw to allow us to do that. So that still is, it's not on the table, that's been approved, so I just want to make council aware of that.
So
Thank you.
technically, we should have put an amendment before we did this,
not
if we
really.
wanted to amend it.
No, this was a new one that was proposed and it's been defeated, so.
Yeah.
The previous one
Yeah.
remains
Okay.
at this point in time. Councilor Saunders.
So for clarification, to you, Madam Mayor, to the CEO, so there will be paper ballots available for people when they go to the polling stations.
Yes, as a result of this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now. We're at my motion, so I will hand it over to the deputy mayor. Chair this piece.
Thank you, Mayor. With your indulgence, I need this moment to catch up in terms of my paperwork.
Oh, no worries, and that just. My motion will still be looking for a seconder and it's regarding protection of Canada Post. Not closing post offices. That and we'll see if anybody is willing to second it when the deputy mayor gets to it, or you could start to read it.
I can quit.
I have found it, that's okay. Thank you for that. So thank you, Madam Mayor. So item 6.1, Mayor Greenwood Spears is proposing a motion. And I believe we'll have the, sorry. In terms of procedure. Does the mayor need a seconder before it goes on the floor?
Yes.
So how does the rest of council know that this is the motion? Do I read it out?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so the mayor's motion is Canada Post mandate review. Whereas the community of Wolf Island is both rural and isolated by the St. Lawrence River, and that over 1,500 year-round residents reside and hundreds run successful businesses from here, with many relying on parcels and goods being shipped and received. And that many private couriers refuse to service the residents due to ferry delays and consumption of their time. Now therefore be it resolved that the township of Frontenac Islands asks that the moratorium on closure of rural post offices remains in place in order to protect our economy, provide us with equal access, and support reasonable service delivery to the isolated community. So that's the mayor's motion. We need a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Holton. Motion's on the floor. Madam Mayor, would you like to speak to your motion?
Okay, I think the motion speaks for itself as to the vital need to keep the post office going here on the island. One thing I actually realized I didn't provide the direction that this motion be then sent, if passed, to the county as well as our MP, Prime Minister. The head of the post office is Doug Ettinger, Etinger. He's Canada Post President and CEO, so to just pass the motion without giving direction to the staff as to where to send it off to, I think it's important. Because it is part of our economic security at the county, it's relevant to the federal MP, and it's certainly relevant to, our chief president and CEO of the Canada Post, and I think the prime minister should be aware of it as well. That would be an additional amendment, I think that not.
So Madam Mayor is proposing an amendment. Give you a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Paul. All those in favor of the amendment to the motion? Pass. Go back to the original motion. Madam Mayor, have you completed your comments?
Yes.
Support. Okay, any other comments regarding the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Pass. Madam Mayor, I'll turn the table back, for the chair back to you.
Thank you very much. And Norfolk County letter of support regarding amending Ontario Regulation 391-21 Blue Box. We'll just give our clerk a little bit of time there.
Moved by Councilor Ackles, second by Councilor Bolton, that the request received from Norfolk County regarding Ontario Reg 391-21 box be received and filed or endorsed.
Any discussion? Ms. Saunders? Mr. Ashford? Councilor Holt? Okay. I assume that it's related to the blue boxes that are being utilized on Howe Island, that we're supporting this, not just in general principle. Am I correct in that, Chief Quinn asked that question?
Through you, Madam Mayor, what this is specific to is the commercial recycled material, institutional recycling material, and industry basically. So recycling programs for Frontenac Islands have always been residential recycling only. And that's what the province is focusing on. Unfortunately, in some of the larger urban areas, hospitals, institutions, factories also have recycling programs, and the new legislation does not include that material.
So we're just giving support to the bigger guys that we can.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? All those in favor? Carry.
Madam Mayor, thank you. So we are endorsing that.
Yes, we are endorsing. In the township of a signaling that regarding the support of the mandatory certification requirements for firefighters.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, second by Councilor Bolton, that the request received from the township of Indiana regarding mandatory firefighter certification be received and filed or endorsed.
Okay. Have to be specific on that one, so Councilor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't understand this. I'm wondering if our fire chiefs can provide our some perspective on the impact this has on the township.
Chief Hawkins.
The big thing, this has always been a real sticking point. They tried it before, it didn't go through. A lot of the smaller departments like ourselves are considering this like a farm team for the big cities. Everybody gets trained, we pay for it, and then they can go to the city and apply for a job and they're already trained. It's a lot of hours. 250 to 300, am I not right, Chief? And I had a discussion with the fire marshal and I said, it's pretty hard to justify that we put that many hours in when we do 95% medical emergencies. We do train to 101 standard, but it is time consuming, and Mike is in the Chief Twins or is in the same position I am. We are very limited on who we can get. For the bigger outlying areas like South Front, there are people that can apply, but I mean, that is just in my opinion. Chief?
Hey.
And if I could add through you, Madam Mayor, the challenge is the province is setting benchmarks. And we all support the notion of well-trained and knowledgeable first responders. We need to have that. I think the challenge is, and when we train for the needs and the circumstances of our community. The benchmarks, take you far beyond what's always needed. And so, in our case, we would be looking for what's called the Ontario Seal, which says we're gonna train based on our needs and circumstances in Frontenac Islands. Having said that, a lot of our team would be grandfathered in, which is good, but any new firefighter coming in would have to take that level of training, commit that kind of hours, in order to meet that benchmark. The worrisome part is the time commitment. We have a small pool of people to pull on, and you know what, they're interested, but not sure if they're interested in giving that kind of commitment.
And through you, Madam Mayor, one more thing, we do have firefighters that have been grandfathered. But now we do all. Oh, well, in the city, you have to be out the floor at 60. So it's kind of like an unwritten rule, which I think we probably should make up after 60, SCE is.
So then a follow-up question then, or comment. So this is mandatory, this is going in place. So this letter is simply asking for a 2-year extension. So we had no option of not opting into this. This is going forward.
Correct.
And I would support that.
And there's really no penalty for not getting there. They're gonna come back to council and say, your firefighter expensive.
Councillor Ackley?
I'd have to support it, because if you need our firefighters, it all starts there.
Councillor Dalton?
Yeah, I'd say we need to force this.
Okay, and my question around this goes back to the side. You pointed out that 90% of our calls are medical calls, and that's, so to me, having the training for first responder would be of a higher value. And that for our firefighters, if they're interested in that, would you not agree?
Yeah, and I totally agree with Chief Quinn too, like, we still, we need to be trained to what we need to do. Do we need to be certified? It needs to go that far.
I think through you, Madam Mayor, I think we need to separate out the medical first response calls. Because yes, that requires a lot of training, it requires a lot of time to ensure people are up to speed on the medical side of things. This is specific to firefighting, where you're gonna enter a building, where you're gonna deal with a vehicle that's rolled over upside down. And that's what this legislation is dealing with, and setting those benchmarks. So just a really quick example, if this building was on fire, we would train to NFPA 1001, which then says we can attack this fire from the outside. If we feel that we need to enter and come in and attack it from inside, then we need to train to NFPA 1002. So how we conduct our fire operations will be impacted. A vehicle that's hit a rock cut is auto extrication, we can address that. A vehicle that's on its side is now a technical rescue, and technically, unless we're trained to that level, we can address it. So it's got some strange impacts.
So are there any teeth that come back to bite us, and that is our valiant heroes that are driving the vehicle turned over and that have the wherewithal to take the person out of it if feasible. Especially if there's a fire involved. Is there something that we would be penalized for?
Today, as long as you've demonstrated and show that you're trained and able to perform that task, today you can do it.
Yeah.
Once this is finalized, technically, if somebody does it and there's an injury, then there would be some liability on the municipality. Because you're not trained or you're not certified.
So this is a township of Assignac who's regarding support for the mandatory certification requirements for the firefighters. to this new level. But I'm hearing at least a split, and that it doesn't seem to be required in my chief's views. Am I right on that at this point in time?
I think through you, Madam Mayor, I think we've wrapped our head around, unless the government changes these standards, they're here, whether we like it or not. This is allowing 2 more years for all of us to get up to a level of certification. It's really just
Okay.
extending the deadline.
Okay. But there's never been any pushback.
There's never been any real concrete evidence saying this is what we're gonna do to you.
Okay, sounds like it'd be very worthwhile if you came up with some sort of position on the reasonableness of this new standard and then allow us to move forward towards Roma. And have a fulsome discussion as to the impact of volunteer fire departments. And
Well,
whether.
there's a lot more departments out there than just us fighting this.
Exactly, so Roma is coming up in January and I will be attending that, and it sounds like it could be a delegation idea, and that if you come up with a nice position, that we can give the graphic example of how it could negatively impact us and the reasonableness of it. And I'd be happy to bring that forward, that if you will put together a good pointed presentation that, and anyways, I think it's good timing in that, because we have enough time at this point in time, they're asking for delegation applications to Roma. And it sounds like this is important enough that we should be making our voices known, and I'm sure there will be many other municipalities. This one already is being.
And I think a lot of it too, Madam Mayor, is there's a lot of other townships that are hooked in with full-time too. And that's where a lot of it's coming from. It's union driven too.
It's almost a parallel to our paramedic in ambulance
Exactly,
service.
yeah,
and
yes.
We recognize that.
Yeah.
So let's get our voice up there, but make sure that we have good facts moving forward in that. And I think that that's one of the things, because I know Roma is asking now for delegation requests.
I haven't received anything official.
Okay, I think
But this would be great to support.
it would, okay.
Can I just add one more comment through you, Madam Mayor, and I just, as we go through the weeds of this thing, the regional training school, which is Leeds in the Thousand Islands. We've been working with them in terms of what criteria do we need in terms of teaching our volunteer firefighters, what is that benchmark? So that program of what I refer to as the Ontario SEAL has just been finalized. And the reality is that we may already be meeting it. What we're not saying is we're not going to train to this higher level where you're going up 20 floors and fighting a fire inside an apartment building. So we may need to take a look at our operating bylaw that says, here are the things that we provide in Frontenac Islands. We may need to adjust that slightly. But I do know that the actual course is being finalized, and we really do need to weigh what we do today against that and see if we actually make it. We probably are already there, but again, I mean, it's gotta take a little bit of work to sort that one out.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like my chiefs are in support of this piece because it will delay it for 2 years. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Eric, thank you for the clarity, and I hope the clerk will verify. I think Roma is looking at the delegations to that. And we need to amplify our position on that. Village of Thornlow OPP Detachment Board and the Municipality of Meaford resolutions of support regarding appeal to the Ministry of Solicitor General for reinstatement of provincial funding.
Moved by Councillor Holton, seconded by Councillor Ackley, that the request received from the Village of Thornlow OPP Detachment Board and the Municipality of Meaford resolutions of support regarding appeal to the Ministry of Solicitor General for reinstatement of provincial funding be received and filed or endorsed.
Okay. And any questions, Councilor Saunders?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is, as you know, I'm on the police service, police OPP, the OPP detachment board. And we just developed our budget, which is $14,000. I wasn't aware that prior to this new act, the province was providing some funding for that. So I would endorse this letter requesting the province reinstate that funding to assist with the total budget.
Okay, Councilor Rackliff,
I have no comment.
Councilor Hilton,
I would endorse this.
okay, I endorse it as well. All those in favor? Carried. Municipality of South Huron resolution regarding removing the HST/GST from new homes to support housing affordability.
Moved by Councillor Holden, seconded by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that the request received from the municipality of South Huron regarding removing HST, GST from new homes to support affordability, be received and filed or endorsed.
Okay, and just to be clear, we have South Huron and Bradford Wimley also with that.
Wilberry.
Wimbledon. And I believe they're both in the HST. Any discussions? Councilor Saunders,
Thank you.
Councilor Ackley,
No comment.
Councilor Holton,
No,
all those in favor to endorse. Okay, now we're at the public question period. Anything that's been on our agenda? Is there anybody in the public, either virtually or in real life, who'd like to come forward? Step forward here, first one, first row, and then we'll continue on. State your name and your location for our board, please.
I'm Cameron Thomas, 1585 Road, Wolf Island. And so just some quick, could we get a microphone for these meetings so that when that furnace goes on, we can hear what you guys are saying? Because speaker or something so that we can hear you better in the future. The other comments I have, like, the public survey that you guys were referring to. Is there any way that the results and what the results are going to be used for to be clearly communicated to the community? Then there might be more enthusiasm. When I heard that you guys were going to use those results to think about your budget discussions, my ears perked up again. Oh, okay, well, you know, what is this survey for? Because we all see so many and, you know, what it's used for, the results and that I think maybe engage some more people. The comment about volunteers, I respect that. Volunteers are really important, but when you're looking at your budget decisions, to ask a volunteer to do an 8-hour job every week of the year is asking a lot. And to get a group of volunteers to do a job is difficult. Someone has to coordinate volunteers to do the volunteering. Volunteers are plentiful in this area, in this community, and they're really eager to respond to a specific request. I need food for the Remembrance Day ceremony tomorrow, and we'll probably have too much. I put out a specific request and got a really good result, but to ask someone to put the hours and hours in that coordinate something like a cenotaph thing that we'll have tomorrow, Remembrance Day ceremony, is a lot of hours. I don't think we can count on volunteers for things that are business important, and just look at that when you're considering that, please. Regarding the community wanting better ferry service and ambulance service, could you guys maybe consider at budget time hiring somebody or some company to do lobbying, like professional lobbying for our island to get this stuff resolved? Again, staff is covering it, they're overworked, and they don't have time to focus on one specific thing. It's clear that residents want ferry services and ambulance services addressed, and as our community is aging, ambulance services. So consider maybe a lobbyist or someone full-time on doing this. It's great that you guys will all be reelected next year, but with the new council comes new ideas and new people representing or old people, the same people, not old, young people that are reelected. But consider hiring somebody for that role, making it their job so it can go council to council. The cost of the election went kind of the way I wanted anyway, which was gonna be what was the cost. And the last question is, the taxes that are left over because the budget was under budget, does that lower our taxes next year or just go into the funds next year as a resident?
Through you, Madam Mayor, so basically, like, if there's leftover funds, usually, the process is it does go into reserves. And when we do the budget process, council can make decisions to pull from reserves to fund certain projects.
Okay,
So again, all the money's gonna be kept and then council kind of chooses how those resources are used. Also, just like another example, like through the year, we have some things that come to council that weren't in the budget. Because they were in the budget, sometimes we fund those in-year projects from reserves. So yeah, it's kind of all connected, all gets put back to the township. And it's something that I present the reserves to council when we do budget, so they know what's available. And if they want to kind of pull that lever to have some tax relief.
okay, great, that's it, thanks guys. Good
You're
job.
welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, now those are other people in the back that want to come forward, state your name and address for the clerk, please.
Morning, my name is Andrew McCallum, I'm a resident of Wolf Island, 34 Wyoming Lane. I have two questions for, I think the appropriate person here. The first one is regarding the road. The new resurfacing, can the person who has the knowledge confirm to Southwest residents who are concerned that the road surface conforms to MTO standards for highways with a posted speed limit of 80 kilometers per hour?
Okay, and we'll put that towards the public works, which Chief Quinn is supposed to.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I'm not responsible for Wolf Island, but yes, the product that goes down is meeting the MTO requirements and Wolf Island roads would be classed as class 3 and 4. So very different than say Highway 401, which is for class 1, understood, right? So yes, it does meet the product exceeds MTO requirements.
The second question that devolves from that is that there are no lane or center markings painted on the road. And at night, the entry road is very difficult to discern, the center line is difficult to discern. Is there a plan to paint lane markings in center line on that road?
Through you, Roger. Mayor, there was nothing in the budget this year that the road needed time to settle. Again, this all comes a budget discussion. Staff is bringing, in part of the budget, the cost for line painting in 2026 for these roads. So basically, staff will present a budget that has line painting in it. It still has to be approved by council. But there's nothing in the budget for this year, just because it has to be some time for the road work is completed.
Concern obviously is that it's difficult to know the center line at night, particularly. I'm concerned that there's going to be an accident that might significantly impact somebody's life or finances. My final question is, we're all aware of the challenges with the both on for the mechanical, but also staffing. And I recognize that as the MTO's concern, but has the township been advised by MTO of any contingency plan to ensure that the ferry is continuously and reliably staffed?
Through you, Madam Mayor. No, we've not received any.
Could I ask then that on our behalf as residents, that the township reach out to the ministry and ask them to specify, as someone who worked in emergency services, as Chief Hawkins knows, one of the things I had to do was ensure that our critical vehicles were continuously staffed. And I think it's quite reasonable for the township to reach out to the MTO. We understand mechanical, we understand weather, but certainly when staffing is not guaranteed or assured, that's a very concerning thing, I think. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll just elaborate a little bit on that piece. That ferry is not considered essential service by the province. So that's why we've been subject.
From a labor standpoint.
From a labor standpoint,
Understood.
so that is crucial, and I have raised that directly with the ministry early on. That it is an essential lifeline, it should be essential services. The way ambulance is, nurses are. Physicians are considered essential service, that's why they could strike upon occasion, but it's not, and that is a point that. Hasn't been understood by MTO on that just seem to not recognize that it is the only life link to the mainland forest. Now, but going back to when we were asking about the line painting, I also asked about, in the first year, the surface moves again. So if we actually did try to paint on that surface right now, it might end up a bit of a wavy line by springtime, right? So waiting the appropriate amount of time to put that lines down, I'm optimistic that we will get lines, and quite frankly, I'd be happy for lines on the edge of the road too to mark it off, because I was coming up just the other day with somebody very well in the middle of the road, and we're coming to a corner, and I'm approaching the same corner, so I do appreciate the value of lines, but putting it down that it would become wavy at this point in time would not be very good either, so it's the expertise of the public works and that, but I do hope in budget that we actually do well on painting. So that would be my position, because I do appreciate an aging population, especially in the lack of lights in the country. It's a dark road, and then you got the deers.
For sure.
Yes, Councilor Simon.
I'm asking, no, I'm searching for my question. Was your specific request for published emergency plan when the ferry goes down, or specifically for staffing?
For staffing, so in other words, what is the contingency to ensure that there's on-call staff who can backfill if somebody calls the sick, which happens all the time, we know that. And therefore, there ought to be a contingency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the back there? Come forward, please. State your name and your address for the clerk.
Already Heather Tobias, 32 Grand Harbor Lane. Just to follow up on the question about the state of the roads. Is there in the spring, will the contractor be coming back to put an additional layer of the surface treatment on the road from Oak Point to the end, which is just past Holiday Point? I know it was raised earlier. Someone asked whether or not they were going to add the surface. Because it's quite dusty. So in dry conditions, for example, if you get off the ferry and you've got 10 cars, once you hit Oak Point, it becomes a dust storm. So it's actually fine until you get to Oak Point, it's well covered. But beyond Oak Point, past Holiday Point, most residents have chosen to take Oak Point as a detour, as a means of staying off the very dusty road, because it literally becomes a whiteout. So I guess the question is that going to be addressed in the spring in addition to the line painting?
Okay, Chief Quinn, your public works.
So, through you, Madam Mayor, and again, I can only speak to that product that's been put down. It's actually the traffic that will settle it in, and the dust will go away, believe it or not. And it'll be literally like pavement once it's all done. But it's the volume of traffic, the sun, the heat, all of that stuff is what bakes that in. And then the dust component will be gone. So that product is exactly the same as what's been used in other areas of Wolf Island and Howe Island. So it's a time we'll
Yes,
solve
the
that.
question of whether or not product was, the same amount of product was added after Oak Point, because there was a lot of emphasis, which is fine. There was a lot of emphasis and attention paid on the road leading up to Oak Point. There was much less attention paid sort of on the further extension. Less activity, so I guess we'll see in the spring.
Okay, and I hope that they were fair and gave the same amount of product on the entire road, and that, I would hope. Councilor
So
Hall.
if I may, just, I kind of laughed when you said about that, because everybody drove that section and then they cut off and went around it, and
Which
you need
way?
the traffic. The traffic needs to go on that
Yeah.
road to get it beat in, but we
Which
go,
makes
oh,
sense.
this is nice, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which makes sense, but I
yeah.
thought I'd ask.
And through you, Madam Mayor, if I could, I don't want to sound like I'm dodging the question, I'm not responsible for Wolf Island. But what we do know is that 10 kilometers on Wolf was consistently applied throughout. And two lift, which is called two lifts, so first layer went down, next layer goes down, and then they pack it, and now the traffic volume is what finishes it off.
Right.
Along with the sun and the heat, and it should be in good order.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Anybody online? Don't see any hands up, is there anybody? Nope. Okay, then we're fine for that, now we're at statement by members, Councilor Summers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Going back to our earlier discussion about time off at Christmas and all that kind of stuff. I want to make sure that all staff understand that I value all the work that our staff are doing. The budget coming in on the way it is, the improvement in roads, all this stuff's going on. So my comment about, coming to work and being there should not be construed as I don't appreciate all the work they're doing, so. Despite the swing way.
Okay, Councillor Ackley?
I'm in the same opinion as, the deputy mayor. I work 7 days all the time. When my holidays come, I take my holidays. Other than that, you can call me anytime of the day. I work 24 hours.
Councillor Holton?
I'm actually good for any statements today. Thank you.
Okay. I would be interested in. At some point revisiting, it was right, or we need to maybe do something at the Wolf Island Waste Plant. It's so dark at night and we're keeping on the Wednesdays, the hours open to 7 o'clock at night still, so. My only statement is that it's been raised to me that it's too dark to be safe for our staff. And maybe we can look at that.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, we installed a yard light there at the.
Yeah.
Waste site, does it not cover
It
the?
doesn't cover the whole site. The complaint came straight from staff.
No.
And also the value of it during the winter months and that, so I'll leave it at
No,
that.
that's fine, I just wanted to ensure that.
Okay, and the other statement is, as I said, tomorrow is Remembrance Day, and I hope that everybody comes and remembers the many people, and I appreciate the effort that's been made by the volunteer group, both on Howe Island that have their cenotaph set up there now, and the ongoing work for the cenotaph for Wolf, and that, which is still a work in progress and that, but for anybody that wants to see the size of the rock that is a work in progress, it's in its signs from above and it's huge. And that, so I hope that there's a wonderful turnout. There usually is on Wolf, and it'll be the first time that there's a ceremony done on Howe Island. I can't be at 2 places at one time, so I will be on Wolf for that. Okay, and notice of motions, any notice of motions? Saunders, Councillor Ackley, Councillor Holton. And none from me as well on that. Announcements, we haven't got any announcements, or is there any? Councillor Saunders, Ackley, no, okay. And we're at the closed session now, so that means that many people will be leaving. Will be the motion for this, it's now let me take it.
Moved by Councillor Holton, second by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that council adjourned from council in closed session regarding Municipal Act Section 2392, personal matters that have identified an individual, including municipal employees, specifically the matter review.
All those in favor, give the close. Councillor Ackley, Councillor Holton. Councillor Ackley. Councillor Holton.
He's deaf. He's deaf.
Councillor Holton. We're doing a vote, thank you very much.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'll reread it.
Oh.
Moved by Councillor Holton, second by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that council adjourn to form council in closed session regarding the Municipal Act Section 2392, personal matters that have been identified.
Okay, and we have another case.
Wait.
So bringing some more back in, take it. Okay. Nobody waiting inside at that door? Moving to the day, right back there.
Moved by Councillor Holton. Seconded by Councillor Ackley. Council direct staff proceed as instructed during the closed session in accordance with the discussions.
All those in favor? Carried. Now we're at administrative report AD 2024-25. Oh, right comes. Oh, sorry.
CK Rec violence function.
Thank you. 12.1 bylaw 023-2025 records retention bylaw.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Holton, that third reading and final passage be granted to bylaw 23-2025, being bylaw to provide a records management policy and records retention schedule for the township of Frontenac Islands.
Okay. Any discussion, Councilor Saunders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report doesn't say how long each record is maintained.
Are you, Madam Mayor? So, you will see in there that the retention schedule is in accordance with the Ontario Municipal Records Management System.
Yeah.
So, it is quite a lengthy schedule, it's like numerous pages, so, and it gets updated every year, so we would have to bring back an amendment every year to update the schedule.
So that document is what is our guideline.
Okay, Councilor Ackley,
No comments.
Councilor Holt?
No comment.
Okay. Well, the Schedule A is identified as records management policy attached, and that'd be nice if at some point it says actually Schedule A on that policy for this particular bylaw.
We'll add that on.
Because this bylaw might get modified at some other point, and we won't really just attach and won't apply to. Okay,
Thank you.
all those in favor? Carried. Now bylaw 2026-2025. Sorry, 026-2025, appointment of livestock valuers.
Moved by Councillor Holton, second by Councillor Ackley, that first and second reading be granted to bylaw 026-2025, being a bylaw to appoint livestock valuers for the township of Frontenac Islands.
Any further discussion? Councilor Saunders, Councilor Ackley, Councilor Holton. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Bylaw 027-2025 zoning bylaw amendment at 2040 Road 95. Wait for the clerk to call.
Mayor, moved by Councillor Ackley, second by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that three readings of final passage be granted to bylaw 027-2025, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 015-2013, and that pertains to the portion of the public meeting that we have this morning.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. The next one is one that we've already completed.
Through you, Madam Mayor, so this, and I just reviewed it prior to ensure it, we have to pass this bylaw to allow us to utilize the internet and telephone voting. It does not speak to only doing the telephone and internet.
Actually, did tonight, I didn't.
I just redid it or reread it, and I didn't see the internet specifically
The
said.
use of internet and telephone voting methods that do not require electors to attend voting places or to vote is hereby authorized for a regular election and by-election. This bylaw should be enforced in effect.
Yes, so it doesn't speak specifically. The other one that I had was, only internet and telephone.
Okay, so under your assurance, this does not include.
No, so we will do paper ballot as well.
Oh, we're voting on the bylaw.
Correct.
Oh, because we changed it, but now we're just.
This is the.
Yes, the
last
original
council,
wording.
right?
Yes, yes.
Last council, you guys approved the use of wireless and telephone, so
Yeah.
this just confirms it. So that they're used with paper ballots.
With me.
Yeah.
So I'll find a we accidentally. Okay,
On there?
with your assurance that we are
Yes.
not banning it.
Those in favor?
Carried. Okay, now bylaw on Howe Island Ferry, 029-2025, Howe Island Ferry Cruise and Affairs. Bylaw.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, second by Councillor Ackley, that three readings and final passage be granted to bylaw 029-2025, being a bylaw to establish a fees and fares schedule for the Howe Island Ferry.
Any discussion? Councilor Conley, Baxley, Bolton. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, Simple Island Ferry bylaw 030-2025.
Moved by Councillor Holton, second by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that three readings of final passage be granted to bylaw 030-2025, being a bylaw to establish a fees and fares schedule for the Simcoe Island Ferry.
Okay, and Councillor Saunders, Councillor Acton, Councillor Holton.
Go ahead.
I have a question that I thought that the Simcoe Island owners of their land actually have it added to their tax bill. The cost of their ferry transfer. It was an additional cost, anybody that owned property on Simcoe Island.
Through Madam Mayor, yes, it is included in our tax rate bylaw. I think this is just to confirm the cost that's added. It's just to have consistency.
Okay, so this is, I just didn't want them to get hit.
No,
No,
Okay.
yeah, no changes to how Simcoe Ferry passes are implemented or processed.
Very much. All right, all those in favor? Now the confirmatory bylaw 031-25.
Moved by Councillor Ackley, second by Councillor Holton, that three readings of final passage be granted to bylaw 031-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Now a motion for amendment.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Holton, that the regular meeting of council held November the 10th, 2025, adjourned.
At 12:57. All those in favor? Carried.
Just read it.